welcome to the Eat for Life podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian Chosen One Burton. Of course, co-hosted by Marcus, Esports Howard, Derek, Mr. Dope Work himself, Watford, and of course our newest add to the squad and a legend in her own right, Miss Tamika, Redinfamy, Moultrie. Is that the right way to say that? Because I just read
Yes.
that. So good. So Redinfamy. Well, we got a lot of
Yes.
questions for you because you are like a legend in the journalism game. I tell people I met you so long
Appreciate
ago
it.
at E3. I met you on the floor. It's like meeting a basketball player like coming off the court because I met you on
Stop.
the
They're gonna
floor.
think I'm like 6'11" or something. Don't
No,
say they're gonna think I'm that tall.
you know the NBA floor in gaming is E3. It
Yeah.
used to be anyway. It might be changing because of the way the world's changing, and that's what the whole point of this conversation is about. But I kind of want to go back to the roots of how I met you and how you just got into gaming and how you've turned it into a career and how you've been able to
Hmm.
build upon your brands and find continued success and partnerships. I know you mentioned that Alienware partnership over the summer. I know you just
Yeah.
get partnerships like LeBron, so I just want to figure out you know, how a black woman is able to come in and establish herself in that way, so that maybe if there's any black women listening, they could learn a thing or two. Because I've seen a thing or two.
Yeah, Red, yeah, I got a chance to meet you in person back in Miami,
Yep.
back in the summer, last summer. Time's flying, but we didn't get a chance to have a good conversation. So help me understand, like, bring me up to speed. Tell me where you started, how you got here. Everybody wants to hear that.
Yeah, like some humble beginnings, of course. So as far as video games, I've been gaming since I was a toddler. My parents actually got me into gaming. And from there on, even like throughout my whole childhood and even up to college, I kept it. Like this is something that I always had an outlet towards all the time. So fast forward after college, it was very hard to get a job because that was the recession in 2009. And it was very trying times because, as especially when coming from our background, you try to do everything right so you don't always get the same curses coming around all the time of, okay, I was the first one in my family to graduate from college and I thought I did everything right, but I could not find a job, so I was very hard on myself because of that. But during that time, social media was popping. Facebook was already out. It was just dedicated to college students, but Twitter came around. And of course I'm still gaming. That's something that was keeping me to not be so depressed. But I wanted to take a step. Now I went to college for market. I have a degree in marketing, communications.
Mm.
As far as being a journalist, I would have never thought that I would be a journalist at all. Like I would have never thought I would have been in this field as a journalist, a media personality, someone on camera. Because believe it or not, I'm very shy. So I'm very shy. I had to break that one. I had to kind of challenge myself, even going to college out of state. Be like, I don't want to be like that. I feel like it's just holding me back on so many different opportunities and new people to meet. But just to kind of roll it to after college, social media was and even listening to podcasts wasn't even that popular like how it is now. Just listening to a lot of gaming podcasts and then also with Twitter, just speaking my mind on video games. That's something that I would always, just talk about video games and was very intrigued about it, especially reading like different magazines like Game Pro, that EGM back in the days.
Mm.
And I always wanted to know, as I got older, who was behind these video games and why did I love them so much? I wanted to know the reason behind what I love. And that's when I started to be vocal on social media. And even during social media in the forums, PlayStation had a reality show, The Tester. Joseph, I know you remember
I remember
the
the
Tester.
tester. Yeah, the tester.
The
Yeah,
Tester.
yeah.
And I actually was going to try out for it. But like I said, I was very shy. So,
Ah, yeah,
but
yeah.
during that time, I met so many people that I know today. That's how I actually got to meet Malik, and a lot of other people that I've been friends with for years through the tester forums. And that's how that was like my first networking was through those forums. And then
the audition forums for the show?
The auditions forums
crazy.
For the show. It was
crazy.
my first like entry into networking in the gaming community.
Wow.
And then with Twitter, I would just write about gaming all the time. And from writing, with Twitter all the time, that's how I actually got discovered.
So discovered is in, what does discovered mean?
My computer just froze for some reason. Oh, technology. But that's how I got discovered by a large outlet that I was like, wait a minute. So one of the editors there, he's the one who gave my first shot as being a professional journalist. I was just writing about, video games and whatnot on Twitter. And then he was like, shouts out to Redinfamy. She's a really dope Black woman that knows about her games. You know what I'm saying? Give her a shout out. So I was like, thank you. And then about, I think a week or two later, he actually slid in my DMs. It was like, hey, how would you like to write for Black Enterprise? I said, what? I was like, you want me to write for Black Enterprise? So I said, sure. Now he didn't ask me for any writing samples at all. And I thought that was very intriguing that he never asked me for writing samples. And what I never really asked him why. I just took the offer. I was like, yo, I'm about to write for Black Enterprise.
Usually you have to give samples to get a job like that?
Yeah, a lot of times as far as like pitching, you have to show writing samples. You have to pitch ideas. He knew in 140 characters that I can actually articulate what I was trying to say on any video game topic.
Oh, because that's back when Twitter, before it had the long joint, you had to do the 140.
You had 140.
You was pontificating. So, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess he was very confident if I can do this in 140 characters, what can she do in a body of work? So that's when I actually took mended video games, the business behind video games, and added it to show Black entrepreneurs in the gaming industry. And
that's dope.
I was like, wow, just to have that opportunity, especially work with a well-renowned, like one of the top financial, and especially a Black outlet at that, with Black Enterprise. So that's how I got my very first credentials professionally as a journalist. That's what got me into E3. That's what got me to PAX and so forth. And then that led to other opportunities as well, like working with Ebony, Complex, Revolt throughout the whole years, and then independent websites as well too. So yeah, that's kind of my beginnings on how I became like professional and being a journalist in the gaming industry was just that way. So
many questions, but I don't want to take up, Marcus and Derek Q&A time too. So I just want to ask, again, I do it for layman's, for my peoples who, kind of learn over the shoulder and just want to know directly to the source. So you basically started connecting and networking with people in this industry, like Malik. Shout out to Malik Forte.
Yes.
And you started connecting with many people through like the audition forums on a reality show forum website, and that made you want to write more about your opinions on Twitter?
It did, because on that forum there was different categories, just speaking about video games in general. As far as like debating during that time, console wars was heavy as well too. You had the 360 versus the PS3, so I used to look at all those videos and personalities, and I had something to say. And to say it, I was able to now go on a social media platform and talk about it. Of course, forums throughout years. I used to be on hip hop forums and stuff like that too. That's actually how my name came about. But like through video games, just to have a place where there's people who think like you or may not think like you, but at least y'all hold the same common ground with video games.
Yeah.
I thought was very interesting. So that's how I became more vocal to give my own opinion, my own 2 cents. And during that time, you didn't see Black women a lot of times, period, even saying, I'm a gamer and,
Right.
hey, this
Nah.
is what I think. So, growing up the way I did, I always had, a armor on me. So I didn't care. Like, I could come back if you're trying to say something slick real quick. So I didn't, that wasn't like don't try it. That was never in the back of my head. But if that came about, cool. Cause I used to make people leave in Call of Duty lobbies. So I was already prepared for all the trash talking.
Well, we know about those Call of Duty lobbies, boy. It'd be I'd be wondering what parents don't be understanding that their kids up in the room
I've been heard it all.
Because I would get mad on a game and I would be like, what the freak? That door slam open so fast. I mean, we still doing it, but it's just like I never see. I'm like, these kids be saying anything, and I'd be like, nobody.
I've
hours. How are you getting? How? You're like, oh, he's so well behaved. Yeah, right.
As soon as I logged on Xbox Live for the first time, I was met with so much crazy talk, but it just made me like, just like how you asked me what was the 3 words you would describe yourself. And resilience is definitely one of them because it's just going to just pour right off of me. It's like I got that anti-layer of, that craziness can come by. But I guess that built me to even be confident enough to speak my mind on social media, which is read by the world. And that actually helped me out to be discovered, to put myself out there. And that's why I tell a lot of people, period, you cannot be so frugal with your talents, even the way you think as well, because you're going to miss out on a lot of, nobody's Professor X, you know what I'm saying, that they can just read your mind and what you might think. A lot of times you just have to put your foot out there. And I was so happy to not let depression during that time, like overtake everything and be like, no, I don't want to play video games. I don't want to be on social media. I had those 2 things to help me through it. And I was happy that I had that because now I was able to become successful. And it's still a journey. Like, it's still a working journey. And I'm fine with that. But to still make it and have a foot in the door, when there was a lot of no's.
So can you guys hear that?
We can.
You can? Okay, yeah. Sorry. I had it on Twitch. I have it on Twitch as well. And Kai Barrett just subscribed, and that's the subscribe noise. So shout out to you, Kai. Vigos.
I heard a lot of shooting.
It was clapping. It was clapping.
Now he's that famous.
So I just want to ask, and that may happen. Sorry, guys, I didn't turn the Twitch alerts off, so that may happen. But and thank you, Vigos. But I guess I wanted to bridge that. So you got to Twitter through building that resilience, and then you were able to get an opportunity to write for the network from your tweets. I just gotta say that right there, that deserves the click. The click I put on when I hear that automatically. Whoops. It's so powerful and knocked something over, but that's what I put on. Look, another one. Sogio just subscribed. They heard about you, and the subscriptions are coming in thanks to you. That's what that's what this is about. Like, people think there's some kind of crazy way in, but like, really, you just stayed resilient, and then you put yourself out there without being frugal of your talents, and you were able to get, that first opportunity. And that's just what I was interested in, because I want to know what it was like when you crossed over to that next level, and was able to like be like, hey, look, like, I took a check. I have a check for doing this. I went from, I one day want to do this with these video games to, they paid me for this. That's the feeling. It's cool that you captured that.
Yeah, I had no idea whatsoever. I just knew that, like, that year, I was like, I'm going to E3. Yeah. Like, I was speaking to my friend Javen, who is a mutual friend with Malik as well, too, our mutual friend. And I was like, I'm going to E3. Like, I just claim it. Also claiming things, you know what I'm saying? Even though it may not look like it could ever happen, claim it. You never know. Like, that energy will bring you closer towards that goal you may have. And sure enough, that year I went to E3.
I mean,
So I'm happy I did.
I think that speaks to the economic empowerment that's available through technology. Like without the technology, you wouldn't have been able to get that opportunity because you wouldn't have been able to be in the room with that person that gave you that opportunity or be in those circles because you would have to fit within the simulation for that opportunity in the first place. But because of technology, you were able to be authentic, also put out your skills, ability, your individuality, and then get a check behind that. I think that's part of what is missed out on in our community or overlooked when we look at economic empowerment and inclusion is that they think it's about, oh, I have to go and be something else to get an opportunity. And technology has kind of knocked down that wall where you're able to be authentic and get these opportunities. And you are a true testament of that. Since 2009, it was real out there. Like
it was hard. It was real. Like it was. And thank you for bringing that up because especially our community needs to see that and even just take a step back and see who's famous right now. A lot of different people who have actually come up who, to be honest, if there was no such thing as social media or anything like that, we would have never heard of them. If there was a such thing as social media back then, the people that we see now might not have existed. Right. So it's like, it's good to take that in because like I said, social media and just like the technology behind everything creates a lot of yes where there's so many no's, especially for us. Of course, somebody sees our resume, we have a certain type of name, it's a no. If they see sometimes where your zip code is even on your resume, it's a no. Or, back before it was just a resume. It wasn't somewhere that someone can actually see you perform what you say you can do. So I think there's a lot of advantages. I always tell a lot of friends of mine or even people who may come into my DM and ask me questions. I'm like, listen, I didn't have this stuff that y'all have right now. Y'all have YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Like all you have to do is just do it and just put it out there. And you never know who's watching you. You never have any idea on who's watching you or what you may be saying or anything like that. So why not just try? You have nothing to actually lose, because it's there that you own it, on a not even, you don't have to go and pay for all these things. I always thought that like I wanted my own website a long time ago. Before even being discovered, I thought I had to pay and do all this stuff. I had that mentality like, oh, I probably got to pay for this in order to get this. I just could have had redinfamy.wordpress.com. Nicole, she used to be called Nicole Bitchy. Her website for a long time was just called NicoleBitchy.wordpress.com. And she was getting so many opportunities just because she was just putting her content out there. She didn't care about all of that, It built to that. Like I didn't have this computer that I have now, this light that I have back here. Like my rig was, like I didn't have any of this stuff some months ago. I just worked with what I had. Even streaming, when I first streamed on Twitch, it was just streaming straight from my PlayStation. I just worked with what I had.
That's what I'm talking about.
And just make it like Hip Hop Gamer. Shouts out to my baby Hip Hop. He was like, just start, just do it. And I was like, right, because when I first seen you had that PlayStation 3 camera and that black sheet, and you made it work because people love what you were saying versus how everything looked. Because things can look so pretty and done up, but there's no substance behind it whatsoever. So it's like, well, why am I here? This look cute, but why am I listening and why am I here?
Agreed. Hip Hop Gamer. So he is the most positive cat I've met. So I know he was rooting you on to do your thing for sure.
Yes.
A legend in the game in his own right, for sure.
Red, you speaking this week at Pocket Gamer?
Yes, he's going to be on Pocket Gamer conference that they have. I was like, wow, I didn't know they had a conference just for mobile gaming alone. So I think that's
mobile gaming is another frontier, y'all. I mean, this is a whole nother frontier for even the four of us right here. Like, as much as we know about what we know, man, mobile gaming is quite quite on the rise for bread. Like, I'm just letting everybody know. Like, if you play
it's
them,
number one.
if you know how to,
It's
that's what I'm
number one,
saying.
actually.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's number one, and it looks like it's number one, and the lead is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's because everybody will join, and it's easy access, and 5G being so fast that people are starting to rely on the results. I mean, like, PUBG got banned in India and is still in the top 5 games, just being big, and there's countries that can't even join. So I'm glad you had brought up,
crazy.
you know, mobile games, and shout out to hip hop for educating them on that, because it's important. It's important people know, like, this is, you know, I met somebody who made a great point. They said, you know, mobile games is the get back for everybody who, you know, kind of got boxed out on PC, right? Especially,
Yes, it is.
you know, especially folks of color, minorities, and disadvantaged, because now everybody got a phone. So now that the playground's getting brought to that place, it's like, what you want to do? Like, now we're here. Now, you know, Clash of Clans is getting just as much money as Counter-Strike. So I got a phone, and I don't think your archers could shoot my joint down.
Oh, word.
So you can get on if you want to get on. It's not a problem.
It's amazing.
You know, and the money's matching up with it, right?
With that.
The money's matching up with it, you know, because it seems like, you know, Derek talks about that a lot. It's like that economic wall is there because everybody ain't going to be able to update their PC every 2 years. And that really matters in the PC world for competitive talk. So glad that, you know, kids who, you know, may be in a financial situation where they can't do that, there's still other platforms they can get in. And as you just showed us, you could just get in one way and then opportunities open up. You know what I'm saying? You did it off the tweet. So
I gotta say, I'm anti mobile gaming. I deleted all mobile games off my phone and everything because I'm so old school. Like, if I want to play a game, I want to play it. I don't want you to tell me, oh, you got 2 charms left, and or else you have to wait 15 minutes to continue. Like, that's so stupid to me. Like, if I want to binge 5 hours, let me binge 5 hours.
Well, those are like the little those are like the leisure games.
Yeah.
Those are the leisure games.
You got different types.
You got Call of Duty. You have the PUBGs. You have, like you said, the Clash. And there's a whole esports actual mobile gaming conferences now, and they're actually still trying to also incorporate the youth in it. And like you mentioned, especially coming from our community with Black and Hispanic children, they don't have the opportunities that we see white and Asian children have, according to having the facilities or even having in their own homes PCs. That's why, you know, a lot of people don't even know that Fortnite could run on a lower end PC, you know, unless that's actually told to them. Right. We see a lot of PC games that started to connect on consoles. Consoles is one of the platforms, of course, that most Black and Hispanic youth mostly play on. It's the most accessible, it's more affordable. So now even integrating that as well too. There's different ways. It's just, how do you make that, okay, this game becomes the next big venture for esports? Because it all derives off of what the community is going to actually bring to it to make it an esport. It's not always like, hey, we're going to have that an esport game. So developers always say they listen into the actual community to see if that's even going to pop as an esport.
Has your opportunity that you've been given in the space, has that made your voice watered down a bit? Because you like the opportunity that you're given, you like to be in the space, you don't want to get boxed out. Because I know as a female and as a minority, there's a bunch of bullshit in the industry, and calling it out points specifically to specific people within the industry that might leave you boxed out of the opportunity. Have you had to struggle with that?
Oh yeah. Like I said, you know, over the past summer, from the unfortunate events of us losing our brother George Floyd and sister Breonna Taylor, it's become popular to speak out. You know, before, you know, being in this industry before unfortunate events, I would speak out on things as far as things not being so fair, or why you don't see this, or why you don't see that. And a lot of times it was not amplified. You know, it was not the popular thing to say. it wasn't amplified. Even from our own people, it wasn't amplified, you know. Especially being a Black woman is always considered as complaining than always actually having something to say that's very valuable and pointing out certain issues that should be addressed. Or, you know, I'm not, and the way that I did it, it wasn't based off of begging. I'm not begging nobody that I expect that's not going to do it at all. It was bringing actual eyes to the situation. You know, I didn't expect anything to change. Just that, hey, this is happening. Okay, what else can happen to fix it from our end? That's another thing that always needs to happen. But yeah, especially, you know, I've been in this industry for almost 10 years and I've seen the shift. And you know, I love what's happening now. There's a lot of people becoming more vocal, speaking on situations and topics that need to be spoken upon, especially what I always say, specifically Black. I don't say people of color because that's a whole spectrum. I say specifically Black and Hispanic because those specific groups are marginalized. Asians are of color, they're not marginalized. So I always say specifics, and I think that needs to be accounted because statistics are very specific. So speaking on specific topics should always have that with it. And that's what I always would put out there and advocate on what should be done. And also, besides just the negative things, the positive things of showing who's out there that's doing it. You know, we have a lot of women that's in esports as well too, or just in gaming in general, that have executive positions now that's changing the scope on different things. We see even, for example, you know, as far as the fighting game community, as cleaning up certain things, a toxicity that's been in the fighting game community that needs to happen as well too. That's something that's very dear close to our community. In the arcades, the bodegas, you know, the corner bodegas, you know, we all grew up seeing some form of esports even from that alone, and then it becoming a whole culture that people have lived with for damn near 30 years. But we've seen so much pushback when it came to Black women, you know, amongst our own. So just having that as well and speaking on it over and over again. Yeah, a lot of times our voices will get watered down, but the more and more, it's like honey. You know, the more and more it grows and we can attach more people to it that feel the same way. We have a lot of women that are actually showcasing that they are gamers than ever before. A lot of Black women that's showing that they're gamers than ever before. So when that keeps growing, you're like, hey girl, you for real, you thought like that too? And then to see that, it becomes a whole hive mind. And that's when things can start to push and not be so watered down.
Red, thanks for sharing that. 100%. We want to give you, you know, equal speaking opportunity and equal voice here, you know, because you're a core member of the team. So thank you for sharing that. Continue to do that as we move forward because it's important for the culture. And thanks for sharing that background too. Again, you know, I only got a chance to meet you briefly back in Miami. So great. And I think, you know, Derek, if he hasn't met you either, it would be great to catch up with you over the course of this podcast.
I know.
Moving on, what we're gonna do is talk a little bit about what happened this weekend, a recap. We got some news items, you know, we'll touch on if we have some time, but this is Super Bowl weekend. But I think, you know, more important than the football game, at least for the culture, is, again, like you said earlier, increasing representation, shifting the narrative, creating that economic empowerment that Derek was talking about. And for sure, next time we have the event, you're going to be one of the speakers. Make sure we'll get that done. But we, you know, over on Friday and Saturday, we kicked off the Beyond Meta experience, a 2-day event. And it was, you know, we had some bumps in it as any kind of first launch does, but outside of that, you know, as a whole, it was a tremendous success. So wanted to just kind of recap that experience. Sebastian, wanted to hear your thoughts as someone who attended and spoke. And Derek, if you share some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was amazing. I had never seen really that much Black esports. It's kind of like going to a party and you know some people and then you don't know some people. That was cool because, like, I knew some people from, like, all through the years, and then there was people I never heard of before that was just, like, doing cool stuff too. So it was really dope in that way, you know. And then I just thought it was like wild that there was just so many different types of ways to approach the industry. You know, I had a lot of different ways to approach the industry, whether it was just a job fair or listening to entrepreneurs or listening to people who actually play professionally. It really had a lot going on. So that's what I loved about it. And even though I wasn't in Tampa, I was able to experience it. So, you know, it was cool to just, it was cool. I mean, and especially in this circumstance, it didn't make me feel like I didn't be able to, when I go to an E3 or a PAX or anywhere I network or whatever, it didn't leave me lacking the feeling of being able to like meet somebody and then be like, all right, let me see if I can set up a DM or a call with them. Like, that was cool. That was like my favorite part about it. So it was fire. And I really was proud of you guys because I was like, damn, like my boys did this. I'm seeing people share it. I'm seeing like, I was over my LinkedIn. There was so many people with the picture. I was like, whoa. Because I remember when you just started talking about this back in like July and June. And I was like, man, that's going to be a long process. But just to sit back and watch because I know your caliber. I know what you do. And I know how much it means to you. So bringing Cobox in and putting that thing together, that was just really cool. And then even peeking in on Derek's side yesterday, just watching how people were interacting with each other and just the way like conversations were building along the way. It's just one of those things that like you just get this special feeling of like, damn, like these guys are making themselves leaders in the space. So hats off to you guys. It was dope.
Yeah, Marcus did his thing, boy. To see my dog was moving like an octopus. He had his arms on. So salute. I thought we did very good. My part that I've seen, I'm going to actually speak to the challenges of what I had to endure on my side. The economic empowerment portion is big to me because I deal with a lot of artists and street cats that are tunnel vision into like, hey, I want to rap, or hey, I want to be an entertainer, hey, I want to trap, or hey, I want to tote this fire and run around. And to try to get them to recognize there's other ways for them to reach their goal, which their goal I know is to get the money, have some respect, and feel valuable and accepted in whatever they're doing. And a lot of them think that music and entertainment is their only way that society will accept them, respect them, give them the crown jewels that they seek.
Rapper go to the league.
And so trying to get them interested in recognizing the opportunities available in tech and gaming is a challenge. And even with my connections that I have on trying to get people to participate, they only see it from a, hey, I have clout as a rapper. I have clout in the street. So you asking me to participate, I need to be booked to participate because I'm assuming you're asking me to participate because of my stature, when really I'm asking you to participate because I'm trying to diversify what you're doing because there is a cap and a ceiling on entertainment. So a lot of that challenge I had where I had cats, I was like, oh yeah, I'm down. But then the Bucks get a place in the Super Bowl and then Tampa's lit and they have other opportunities to go to a Super Bowl party and they're like, yo, D, I ain't gonna be able to make it, man. I get what you next time I owe you. And to me, that rubbed me the wrong way because like, I get it, bro. Like you want to do the cool stuff that you think is cool, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you the opportunity to diversify.
Yeah, you just want to get on a giddy image and that's it. Like, that's about it. It's like,
but as far as like how the event went down and the information that we were able to share for the students that were there, for the high school students, it was amazing. I can't wait to do it again next year. I have a full year to do it. Hopefully I can get my dog Marcus more help so he's not running around like an octopus because we were doing a lot of one-man banding and there was a lot of people that wanted to participate and be stars, but they didn't want to get their hands dirty in the actual work of staying up late and troubleshooting Decentraland and troubleshooting Zooms and getting websites up and getting press releases out and that's where the real work is at. Like that's the real stay up at late at night. And Marcus was working, we got a job going on, and like part of that made me frustrated. So I'm sitting there looking at a panel of 40 people that were here to speak, and then you want to complain about, oh, I didn't get to speak longer, and I want to be like, bitch, like you ain't really putting more time into like what we're doing. Like be happy with the opportunity you were given. Like don't come to the table because you're the cool person in esports where you think, oh,
that messes up the whole vibe of what the whole thing is all about. It's like, come on, Because you know damn well you wouldn't do this with any other type of thing. And I'm like, when it's dealing with us, can we please have some type of decency and respect on what's happening, y'all? Because I seen it, like, it was huge. That conference was huge. And the whole thing is for someone to learn and gain off of it. It's not for you to be the star at Essence Fest or something. Like, it's something like, it's just the mentality has to change. And you know, a lot of, like I was mentioning, The Chosen, you know, now, especially in this era, esports is a buzzword.
Yes.
It's not
I liked it when you
actually,
was going on this one. I like this one. Go ahead.
Like, esports is becoming a buzzword. It's becoming so much of a buzzword until a lot of people are selected for a lot of esports events that don't know shit about esports. Whatsoever. They don't know how it's formed. They don't understand. They don't understand the history behind it. They don't understand how it came about. They just know Fortnite and 100 Thieves. So like that's like the only thing.
And some phase.
Yeah, and some phase. And shouts out to all of those. But it's a shame even our own people don't know about even our beginnings in you know, esports. Or even, for example, like Empire Arcadia, which is like the most winningest esports actual team to this day. And that's Black owned. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand that came about, even from Sundance D, Giovanni, Mike Sespo with MLG. There's a lot of people that don't know nothing. Walter Day, like, don't know anything behind how esports came about. And they just say, if you're in gaming, then you gotta know about esports. And they just say, here you go. I'm like, no, it doesn't go like that. There's so many different avenues. I remember Chosen was speaking the other day as far as like Black people being in esports doesn't always have to be attached to HBCUs. There's so many other avenues that it could be attached to, period, to get more of we don't have to just begin at HBCUs. We need to begin when these kids are coming out of freaking, they're in elementary school, middle school, high school.
It's true.
Like, these kids should know about coding, you know, understanding different things about coding, and, you know, of course you want to be like, I have my little nephew saying, I want to be a YouTuber. And I'm like, baby, there's more to than just being a YouTuber. You want your own media company. Right. You know what I'm saying? You want your own media business. So it's just teaching those things, because the kids just see, this generation grew up off of social media, just seeing all the glamorous stuff. Like, wow, he has that set up and he has that set up, and not knowing what's behind. And don't get so like, I have to like compare my life to the next person. You can still do it, but the parents also have to know that, okay, well, video games and esports is connected to STEM. And so let's get more STEM programs to these different schools. You know, things of that nature just has to be inputted and should be spoken about, and seeing how, okay, with different departments of education in different states, how that can be implemented to make sure that these kids are exposed and have all the tools if they want to be in esports. I think that's where we actually begin at. Not all the time. I understand that is pinning it to HBCUs because they have established brands already, and okay, we can make this the big thing to get more like money and branding and funding towards it. But then it has to trickle down to where kids, you know, the age they actually start playing video games, and then understanding the business behind it, educating the parents as well with it. And I think that's where it needs to begin, especially in our community.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. That was the whole philosophy behind Beyond Meta, right? It's not only kind of creating the economic empowerment, but the education piece. And I'm honored that we had the mayor come and give the opening, right? The welcome. He understands it. And it takes that from an organization perspective, right? The leadership to get behind this and support this. So that's what we're all about. And that's why this is going to be an annual event, because we need to be constantly reinvesting and re-educating both the students, the kids, right? And then their parents and their teachers. So it was an excellent event. I think I had some stumbles on the virtual side with the Career Expo, but again, it was the first year. We tried to do something that was bold. We knew that you shoot for the moon, you land on the clouds, and we landed on the clouds. So not everything worked out the way we wanted, but we still have opportunity.
At least you up there. At least you was up there. You was up in the sky.
Yeah. And what would you say the hardest part? Again, back for the streets, layman's chosen, just getting back for the streets. What was the hardest part of your 6 months journey, 7 month journey of putting the whole event together? Like going from, hey, I want to do an event, to the day it's like 2 days before the Super Bowl and there's 700 people, and every time I scroll down LinkedIn, somebody's saying I'm going to be speaking at the Ascend HBCU, college, Super Bowl conference. That was cool. Like, I just want to know what it was like going from the beginning till that day. What was like the highlights, or like what would you say were some of the things that like you'll prepare for next year better?
Definitely, I wish we had marketed more in advance. Just the kind of the way it ran, we didn't end up getting a sponsor basically until December, right? And the event's in February. So for 6 months, basically, we just basically built this on faith the entire time. That the community would come together, that a sponsor, we could find the right sponsor that was a good fit, because esports has a bad reputation for just bringing on sponsors just for the sake of getting dollars, when it doesn't really make sense for the community, just because. We didn't want to do that.
This is sponsored by Hermes.
Right.
What is it? A fighting game. Hermes sponsored it. Okay.
The other big challenge we had was, I reached out to a bunch of big name people that I know from the traditional mainstream space, because it was, you understood what happened last year, right? There was the social justice, the economic empowerment, the support in the urban community. I felt like traditional esports would get behind this 100%. So I had like 40 people in the beginning. When we finished up this event yesterday or 2 days ago, it was 5 of us left. And there was a strong moment. I think I was on a conference call with Derek. It was like late October, early November, when I told him, I think we're gonna have to cancel this thing, man, because we didn't have enough support. I knew it was too much for a handful of people to do. And I was disappointed that so many people just wanted to get in for the fame around the Super Bowl and what we were trying to do. Yeah. And not really support the movement authentically. So I'm lucky, because the people who were left were the ones who actually cared.
That's how it be, right? That's how it be. And what's crazy is, so let me backtrack. So you're saying the hardest things, the hardest thing was watching the amount of people who said they were going to not contribute when the stretch came down? Because in the beginning last year, June, I remember, you reached out to me, and I, quite frankly, which is why I'm here right now, and I thank all of you guys being right here now, I stand with Kaepernick. So I can listen to people talk about football. I'm not offended. I'm going, when football comes around, I'm not like that. But I just realized that my man got his job taken away for nothing to this moment. So I just prefer to be building things like this. But you did even approach me and ask me, and I wanted to help you, but I just felt my way about it. But to see that you're saying that, like, through the time, all those people, because I remember that first call. I'm going to give you guys a little candid on the first call. This is how raw we do on the Eat for Life podcast. I remember hearing some of those people and them having opinion on esports and gaming and tournaments and what should happen. And I was like, who are you? And it's not that somebody has to be somebody, and you guys, if you're listening, you won't be able to see, I just put quotes in the air, but it's just about your authenticity of your generosity and how much you want to help versus how much you're trying to get from somebody or from an opportunity. And
opportunist.
An opportunist. And it seems like there was a lot of the people on that call, and just hearing that by October it was down to how many people?
5.
From how many?
40.
I mean, that is just to show you how many people take advantage. But you guys were still able to persevere with, I'm no mathematician, but I mean, 8 times 5 is 40. So you got down to 20% of the people left and made this thing come together. Yeah,
I was about 20%. And the other big piece, and I'm still struggling with this now, is that Tampa, let me rephrase that. The leadership around the Tampa Bay community, particularly around the sports commission, that didn't get behind us either, because Derek and I were on the strategic planning committee on the tech side. And we came to them and said, hey, we're producing this event. It's about economic empowerment. It's about STEAM. It's about supporting underrepresented communities. We're going to do all of the work. All we want is that you give us kind of the support from the Super Bowl host committee and the ecosystem. And they basically said yes at first, and then they told us no. And even up until this weekend, like if you go to the website right now, we're not listed on the partners. There is no promotion around what we were doing. And we were providing a free event for the entire community.
To the city of Tampa.
The city of Tampa, and by extension, the Super Bowl host committee, which is by extension, the NFL. So, none of that sits well with me. And it was exactly what you were telling me 6 months ago, Sebastian. And I didn't want to believe that was going to happen, but it happened, just like you said it did.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's not about putting down anybody, right? Like, we're ready to move forward with new solutions and futurism. Something dope I heard that I want to drop in for you guys right now is, George Clinton in Parliament in the 70s, everybody thought they were like wearing weird disco funky stuff and that was like entertainment, but really it was black futurism. They thought about black people in the future when, technology and stuff is equality shared with everybody, right? And like this is what we would do and how we would exist, almost like how Black Panther shows that kind of lifestyle. And I think as we go towards that, because I'm seeing it every day with stories like yours and Derek's putting this whole thing together with 20% of what the next man has, and Tamika getting to write her thoughts to the world because they want to hear what Red has to say, and she started on a forum. These are the stories that allow me to know that the curve is going that way. And some of the powers that be, they just, they don't have a history. There's not nothing for me to look back and say like, hey, these are the people who support that happening,
They have a lot of old thinking, and that's about to get overturned a lot. Like I said, a lot of Black success has been happening due to technology.
Technology, that's it.
Right.
Has been through technology. Has been through technology. It has opened so many doors. It has provided so much. A lot of people don't have to go through the middleman anymore. There's been a lot of independency as far as, and also a lot of businesses were created. There's more Blacks in fintech right now than ever before. Yeah. There's just a rise. There's a lot of people just self-teaching themselves to be developers and creating their own applications and things of that nature. There's a rise, of course, like you was mentioning, the Afrofuturism. That's now, right now, and I didn't even think of it like that at all, because I've seen some stuff on that about George, and it's so true. It is so true right now, and it's just something that has to, the kids know and then they don't know at the same time. I get on my nephews about this should never come out your mouth because you have a computer right in your pocket. So it's just instilling that, you have knowledge at your fingertips. When I remember I had to go to the library and do that little thing with the newspapers and look it up. I don't have to do that. I remember Ask Jeeves wasn't correct. Word, the library card, you gotta wait for the computers and stuff and log. You don't have to do that anymore. It's crazy. It's changing so much. We see now things are more in high demand because you got bots out here, people creating bots for everything.
For real.
There's a lot of opportunity right now just based off the internet.
And it's important to know, sorry to cut you off. It's important to note that that's the thing, right? The information age, there's so many things that are going right now that aren't even 10, 20 years old. That's the part that I really want people to stick with is
3 to 5.
Yeah. Marcus and Derek with 20% of what it used to take to put an event together, with 20% of that got the event to a mass amount of people from stuff that wasn't around 10, 15 years ago. Right?
That's amazing.
They got it off, and that's the world we live in. They, in their own time, their own sweat equity, their own blood, their own tears, got it off, and no one could stop them. Marcus is talking to his city. You live in the city. You could go talk to the mayor opened up the conference.
That's amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not in, this is a new industrial revolution. You know, when like it used to be like horses and, hey man, I got to take this sugar down to North Carolina from like New York. And then it's like, damn, it's a 3-week trip and I hope he doesn't die or something, right? Like now, you know, in a flash, you're talking to a bunch of people across the world, sharing information. Everybody does their role and amazing things are getting built. And that's every single day. That's the new industrial revolution. And I just think that like Red said, like it's just there's so much opportunity. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. I said, with everything going on today, with how you can make money and how you can get in and leverage, there's 2 things that I've noticed that I've got to say now. One, it is so valuable having information on like a topic like for us esports and gaming, right? Because we've had so many experiences from all of our journeys. There's plenty of people with money who don't have the experience, so you can pair up, right? And they'll come in and you can make it make sense, right? And 2, you don't really have an excuse, because I could see how some people in our community would feel the need to hustle or do what they can to get by because of economics in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. But today, you literally either gonna get in the car and make money from your phone, you're going to get in front of a camera and make money from your phone. You could send information to people, fill out surveys. There's like literally ways to get money every second of the day now. Like there's just ways. Like you could play games on Twitch and make money. There's like no way. You even if you only got 200 from each of them, but you had 6, you do it 1,200 a month.
It's crazy.
That's the world. That's the way it is. That's how it was not like that 10 years ago. It wasn't
learning
even
about,
like that.
You know, learn about cryptocurrencies and trading. We have young like investors right now just because of the whole
12,
GameStop craze.
12, 13 years old. I've seen it. We
see how blockchain has changed a lot of things, not even just in finance, just on getting things done with information through blockchain. Like all of that alone, but like, you know, just like what Derek was saying about, you know, some of the people he's around, especially in the entertainment industry. I'm like, yo, you see Logic sign over 7-figure deal with Twitch. You have T-Pain, who has created so much. You have Grizzly on there. You have so many different. I remember. I forgot the artist. He's from Detroit. He like dropped his album on there. You have Murs, who's been doing it so long on Twitch before a lot of these hip hop artists. And a lot, especially when COVID hit, a lot of the people who were gamers, they start hitting up a lot of those entertainers to be in tournaments, and that's how they were getting their money. Like, was just being a face in a tournament. Right. You have to diversify everything, you know, as far as like gaming. I'm just not in gaming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's so many different facets because it just cannot just be one thing. Like, you don't see a tree with one branch unless something's wrong with it. So like,
added the crypto piece to the conference, right? Like, we didn't want to do about kind of content creation and tournaments, and while that is where most of esports is running, but it's all about the full economic empowerment, again, through blockchain and crypto. Blockchain and crypto have been around for 12 years, right? Yes. Most of our community is missing out on that. Today, most of our community is still missing out of it. I was talking to my aunt 2 weeks ago about this event. She's like, can you explain to me what Bitcoin and crypto is? Like, what is it? I had to, you know, and I had to educate her. I didn't mind educating her, but that just speaks to the disconnect between our community and all this wealth creation that's happening.
You feel like 12 years is a long time?
12 years is in a lifetime in the tech world.
Things change every 3 years.
I think also a mindset shift needs to happen in the Black community, as we are good at exploiting things. Look at Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We can exploit what's giving to us, but we still haven't jumped into the creation piece. And exploiting means that I can get on Instagram and you can blow up and I can get 2 million followers. I can get my Cash App up. But at the end of the day, I have no power over those things. Instagram can come along and be like, you know what? I'm gonna bam you off the platform and you're done. Like, there's nothing you can do. There's no fight back you can give. It doesn't matter who you are. And so we still need to infiltrate the industry from a technology standpoint so that we don't have to worry about those that control technology playing nice with us and letting us exploit it. And that's what we're doing right now. Like even though we have more opportunities, we're still hoping that Facebook plays nice. We hope that Instagram isn't racist. We hope that Facebook, LinkedIn isn't racist. We hope that Cash App isn't racist. But if they chose to, if the powers that control those things decide, you know what, if you're in this zip code and I press this button and delete your whole account, what could we do? Who could we go to fight back or say, hey, you know what, that's wrong, or you're doing this wrong? There's nothing for us to do because we're not really at the table. We're exploiting what's been created. We're learning how to maneuver and invest, but we still have no real power. We act like we have power by saying, well, you know, I know how to invest. I know about cryptocurrency, but still the person on the other end of that is allowing you to participate. And if they choose to not let you participate because they're dicks, you're screwed. And so we have to get more into the creating process so that we have real power, not fake power that we have now. So.
Right.
And that's one of the powers, again, of cryptocurrency and blockchain, because it's what blockchain does is it gives you the ability to kind of decentralize the ownership from big corporations or big governments to the community. So what we really need to do is kind of start using this podcast as a basis, if necessary, and start building a community for the culture, right? For the urban community, so that we have something that we own. Like the Decentraland, for example, perfect example. We hosted the career fair there on Friday. No company owns the Decentraland. It's owned by the collective of the users, right? So we need to be doing that same thing for our community, build a collective, because the dollar, it will always be here, but it won't be the dominant force for our global economy, right? Bitcoin won't even be the dominant force for our global economy. It's near $50,000 now per coin, but there's Ethereum, there's Litecoin, there's Dogecoin, right? All of these coins long-term at scale represent networks, which ultimately represent communities. So what we need to be doing is building our own community around our own coin. That way we have that power that you're talking about. No one can take that from us because we own it.
I love that. That's that dangerous talk right there. And I love it. I just want to say build our own coin, have our own community, and eat for life our own way. That's what this is about. And I'm glad that you guys opened our eyes to some of the things that, I hadn't even thought about. Derek, that's a really great point. It's like, it's true. Like, we have to, and I think about it in marketing and sales, because that's kind of the goal now. When I talk to you guys all about funnels and getting your sales up, that's the point. That's why you collect emails. Because if Instagram goes down, you can't take my email list. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all who gave the emails up. We appreciate you. You can't, they can't take it. So like, whatever, like, that's why I built that funnel like that. And that's how we should do it. And I never thought about it just from a community standpoint. So thank you, Derek. That's really dope. Marcus, what else do we have on the list for conversation before we get out of here?
We got two news items we want to cover. One of them is that Dan McHugh, who is the esports program manager at Overwatch, said that they're getting rid of the Contenders program. Because what they want to do is really kind of leverage, I guess, the organic growth out of third-party ecosystems. They don't want to kind of control the entire space. They just want to, to promote the best talent. I wanted to hear your thoughts, Sebastian, because you run in the tournament circuits.
Yeah, I think that I see it here and it says in South America, but I would think it would be better if they got rid of it altogether. I think that South America probably just has the lowest numbers, so corporations start at the bottom, right? Like, they just start cutting the fat from where it's not making any sense. But I really would imagine, I don't know any Overwatch contenders, and I scour the scene. I don't know too many contenders that are doing better than people who play it casually on their personal stream. You know what I mean? Or play it competitively on their personal stream. I don't really think it's for these leagues to come out with pipelines that make people play a certain way or share their content a certain way. We just haven't seen that be successful. And I'm not sure if because what happens too is not only is it stifling the amount of players who can come in and like the way it is, like I get that, but more importantly too, it's like the content. Like, I know Overwatch is so licensed that like people can't really even shit, like third party tournaments can't throw a tournament and be like, hey, this guy won this tournament, he should go to the real league. That's what makes esports different and gaming different
it's
than the
very,
traditional
it's very
NBA.
weird.
Yeah, and the
Like,
traditional. Go ahead.
well, that's why I always resort back to like the fighting game community. The fighting game community, we've seen people that we've never heard of win Evo. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the reason why is because it's not in that way of being so controlled. You have all these different qualifiers, and I feel like you can do that with Overwatch. Like for them to control it so much, I feel like they're never really going to get a new sense of new talent. It's going to be mostly Asian all the time.
Right.
It's like they're not trying to seek out and see where there's so many kids, there's so many people who play Overwatch. Just like what we're seeing with Apex. There's so many people that play Apex. There's a lot of black women that play Apex because they seen 2 black characters and they was like, whoa. And it forced a lot of black women to play Apex because of that. We're seeing it with Rogue Company as well too. But I feel like things like fighting game community has been doing things so much in an organic way that you can get that talent, because you can have someone play casuals, say, oh, I'm ready now, to then go and be, you know, and say it with no sponsors whatsoever. We've seen people with no sponsorships, no team, there's nothing next to their name.
They be coming out
and come to Evo and being like the top 8. We were like, wait a minute, you know, and like, where did this person come from? But that's so exciting. Like that, it's just like seeing someone who was undrafted and they're like one of the number 1 players in their league. You know, to have that possibility just in traditional sports should be in other games as well too, because we're not going to see a growth. It's going to be stale. We're going to keep, for example, like even a New York team. I'm like, so there's nobody from New York, you know, in Excelsior. Like, it's just weird to see. It's something I've never seen. Just to see a all Korean, you know, team. Just like what I love recently with Evil Geniuses, they have a mixed gendered team for Valorant, and they have women and men. And you never get to see stuff like that before. Things have to change, because if not, it's going to get stale. Overwatch have to clean up their community, period. They have a very toxic community that they need to clean up. And it has to be more marketable. It has to be more marketable. So it's like, okay, it has to be in the same home sense of like how Call of Duty was. You know, Call of Duty was that home name that all the kids went to go play. All the kids wanted to be competitive in. They went on MLG and had their team versus the other. Like, it just have to be in that sense. If not, it's like, what are y'all doing? Because I don't understand the program to its entirety, what they were doing in South America, or why they even pick South America. That's very interesting on why. But like, how was they going about as far as getting talent, and why was the number so low for that? Or why they weren't actually looking first in the States for talent, since it has a high, you know, that most of the teams are in the States.
I think it's each region. Each region has it. So each region has Overwatch Contenders. So that's Overwatch Contenders South America.
Okay. Okay.
And there is a North American one. There is a yeah, and it wasn't. But I just think in general, player discovery should be through third-party tournaments, because
it should,
because it's not the NBA, or it's not, you know, the other leagues. It's like gaming is so new where it's competitive that like you can find player X, right? Like that's what I always called it, player X. Like at any given tournament, player X is there and he will bust your ass. How hard you trained, how much you thought you knew.
Make sure you coin that, because somebody might
and what
player X.
Because it's real. Player X is real. Because you could do all the studying. Oh, I know Red's going to be there. Okay, she was this guy. I know Marcus is going to be there. He was this Ken. All right, Derek, he be picking random. All right, we're going to see. But then player X, you're not prepared for. He got on the screen with Blanca and be tearing you up, and you wasn't prepared.
He going to mix your whole joint up.
You're going to be mixed. You're going to be mixed. And it is what it is. It is what it is, and that will exist forever. So I think that because it exists forever, you can't try to like make a platform that, like you said, it's not really marketable for everybody. Like Overwatch's community in general has issues. So we'll see how they bounce back. I don't know. I really just think that the leagues that we've seen so far, I'm one to, I'm on record saying the Activision leagues, I think, are in trouble. I think they don't market to everybody. I don't think that they really understand how deep rooted their community has toxicity issues, and it won't become like a unified sport type of thing where multiple audiences can turn it on for quite some time. But if that said, I think esports leagues are gonna be big. I just don't think that the types we're seeing right now, I don't think they have the talent management. I don't think they have the content. I don't think they have, some of them don't even have the game. I feel like
Valorant is right on the hills.
Yeah, right. See, like Valorant, and that's Riot. They have one. They have a successful league with LCS. So that, like, you can look at that and be like, all right, well, look, they made it work 10 years. They're trying new stuff every year. I saw Kiki Palmer up there. I'm like, okay, so they're trying to get different stuff going on. Every year they're trying to put stuff together. Their challenge, and they've survived this challenge, is I have never watched more than one League of Legends match. Like, that's just how it is for me. So they've got to find a way to make the pieces of the game exciting, because there's plenty of people who've never watched a football match watching Super Bowl today. So that can still work, but you got to find a way to make the game more exciting. I see some of their marketing; they're on the right direction, but I think that for Overwatch, like I just have this feeling like, it isn't even it was made for esports, right? That was the first one that came out with the marketing, like, hey, Activision, we made this one for esports. That's what we made it for. And then 2 years later, it was like, well, there's a part 2 though. So it's like, a little weird culture there, but hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. We'll see. It looks like they closed down South America. We'll see if any other regions follow, because I know they did charge $20 million a year to get a team in that joint. So
third party is needed.
Seems like you had to pay $20 million. Robert Kraft lost Tom Brady, and he had to pay $20 million. So it ain't been looking like a good year or two for the old Kraft family as far as the esports game goes. But yeah,
let's keep following that. We'll see what happens. Maybe there's more to report on that in the future. Before we wrap up, let's jump over to finance really quick. SEC on Friday announced that they're going to be closely watching the volatility of specific stocks. This is basically an extension of the whole GameStop saga, with people going in there and bankrupting hedge funds. Again, this is what we talked about earlier, right? Giving the power back to the people, which away from a specific organization or a government. The SEC is a government entity. So it's interesting to see, because I'm subscribed to Robinhood. I've been getting the emails, and it just kind of seems like they're writing it to, CYA, right? They want to make sure they don't get sued, or that the players or the users don't revolt. But it's time, right? It's time for regular people to be able to be a part of this growth opportunity.
That's this new industrial revolution. I feel like that's what this is. That's what this new, like I said, when they used to put sugar on the back of the cart and be like, all right, and smack the horse on the butt and be like, 3-day trip to North Carolina. Then factories came. Then cars came, autonomy came, and the revolution came because smokestacks started coming, so you could produce things at a higher content, and the world changed right then. What you never knew, building those brick buildings and having cars go on plants and production plants, like that would change the way jobs in every sector changed because of the capability. We're here right now living through that right now, because 10 years ago, you couldn't just say, I'm going to get in my car, turn on my phone, and drop somebody off and make money. You couldn't just turn your, get on a conversation with 4 people and 2 people subscribe. Shout out to you guys again. Thank you. You couldn't just get that, right? So now, like, the world is changing and you're in it. And I just feel like that's what the same thing that's happening with Robinhood is, like, they didn't think people were going to be innovative enough to be like, hey, if all these guys are shorting the stock and I'm on the other side, then we should get together and pay attention to what's going on. They just didn't account for it. They just acted like that wasn't a possibility. And when it did happen, they moved the marker back a little bit.
Yeah, they just now announced that they're going to have that you can do, I guess, fractional shares.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a step towards them. Like, hey, we still for y'all. We Robinhood. But I felt it was very ridiculous, and the whole covering, yes, situation just really blew back, and the more information people are learning that the 1% has had for so many years, countless of years, people are like, wait a minute, this is how this adds up. These hedge funds and these trust funds of this and that. Like, a lot of people don't even know. There's a lot of illegal stuff in a lot of these trust funds and hedge funds, but it just get, put to the side. But people are learning. Reddit has so much information in Reddit.
That's what I'm saying. In today's world, Reddit is that what the factory was at that time in the 30s.
Somebody said the backdoor internet. I was like,
it just opens up. It opens
Reddit's
up
not
a
backdoor.
World. It opens up a world, right? It's like now you can go on Reddit, YouTube, and put in 200 hours by yourself, 200 hours by yourself on something, and you are now able to qualify to be able to speak on it, and everything's social in the media, That's probably why they call it that. So it's like you bring that social aspect to your knowledge that you can gain at the tip of your fingers. We're in a different game now, baby, and that's how we all got to learn how to eat for life. So thank you, Marcus.
Talk about that real quick. We got to go back to Bitcoin, right? Because we talk about fractional shares that just got launched, this weekend, like Red said. But Bitcoin has always had fractional nature to it, right? A Satoshi is 100. Let me get that number right. A Satoshi is 100 millionth of a single Bitcoin. So for 12 years, anybody has been able to have like fractional pieces of Bitcoin. And now just this weekend, the traditional banking and finance industry has caught up.
It's crazy because it never used to be fractional shares like that.
Right.
That's why we need to be getting in these spaces, right? Because at the very least, if you're going to deal with fractional shares, if you're on the crypto side, you have that freedom. Where if you're on Robinhood, you can only do what they allow you to do.
Right. They'll cut it off. Oh, you all want GameStop? Well, we just ran out.
Right. How you run out of shares?
How do you run out of shit? What do you mean? It's like, oh, well. And you know what's crazy, too? And I just want to say this. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. GameStop, man, I hope y'all see this. All right? Hope y'all see this. Because your model is so old and so broken. All right? I'm talking to you directly if you're from GameStop. I hope you see this. Your model is so old and so broken that even a bunch of people on Reddit who got together with a strategy and pushed your stock up to
saved your company.
Yeah, saved your company on paper. It went immediately back down because even with this new executive you brought in, new CEO, you're running a model that does not work. People are not going to come in your store more than they did in the past, no matter what you guys do. And that's just the structure of the business that you guys have done in the past. Because the publishers, well, they went first. They started making codes for us when we buy the game, right? We buy the game, you got to use the code one time to go online. So if you bring that game back to GameStop, it's no good for the next person because that code won't put their game online,
they did
right?
That years ago.
And then as the players, we took our power back because we just stopped dealing with it. We recognize it's comedy now how you would give us $3 back for a $60 game. So you have no good fanfare between both sides of this, okay? Both the consumer and the publishers aren't your friend right now as far as, doing business with you goes. But there is a solution, and there's a huge gap for you guys to fill. I wrote an article on LinkedIn. I'm going to reshare it this week, and I hope you guys all, because all you are 3 smart people, tell me if I'm crazy or if I'm right, because I think this idea could help GameStop, but they should come talk to us about it because it's a great, great, great opportunity for them, because I don't think being a retail store that sells games anymore is the company's strong point. And I know
especially not now.
Yeah.
They had a chance when the world was regular, so-called normal.
Mm-hmm.
They had a chance. I've known several people that have put so many ideas, and they was like, "Oh, we'll try." And they could have been the Barnes and Noble of gaming. People will go into Barnes and Noble and will be there for hours because of the ambiance of it. It was very inviting. They would sit there and read books and then go purchase the next books because there's a Starbucks right there. So they want to enjoy their tea or their coffee. Like, there was a whole thing that, that could have been brought in there as a culture of gaming where gamers could have came into and have a safe haven. All of that. And they didn't. You have Capital One that did that. So like you had a bank that did that same model as a bank.
Yeah.
Yet you as a gaming company could not do that when gaming is all about being social with different things. As soon as you talk about one video game, somebody's going to talk about it. I remember I was in GameStop for like 30 minutes because I was in a really dope conversation with someone, or some of the people that I would meet there, the different employees there, just talking about all kind of geek
Raise
stuff.
your hand if that's ever happened to you. Definitely.
But like, it's just.
Well, Red's more generous, and that's why we brought her on the show. I'm not so generous. GameStop, call me, and I'll tell you what I.
Well, you can't do that now. That's a wrap. Like,
yeah.
Well,
mine you could do now. You could do now, but it's an exploding offer. You don't need us to do it, but you should definitely work with us to do it.
They had a streaming platform in 2014 that they sold. They used to have their own like PlayStation Now and Game Pass. They had that.
They always had when you walked in the store, right? Like it was like GameStop News.
I think it was Congregate or something.
Yeah,
like that.
They had
a streaming
like
platform. They sold it because nobody wants to stream games.
Even with all their attention they got in the press this week, they're not even in control of their own fate still. So I walked by one in the mall the other day, and it's just like ghost town in the whole mall, but specifically by the GameStop. It was like 7 o'clock. It was closed. They like had closed it. Like they don't even want to spend the money on the hours. So, I mean, I just think that, let it be a lesson to all the players and the companies out there that the times are changing, and even an old staple company like GameStop isn't able to avoid the fact that the times are changing. We're in the fourth industrial revolution, and it's time that we all eat for life. So, Marcus, you want to bring us out?
Yeah, thank everybody we want to thank you all for tuning in. Definitely, we've got some great stuff coming up this upcoming month with some interviews. We appreciate the support, and you can tune in next week, 8 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. EST, 5 p.m. PST, and we help you eat for life.
Where can they get a hold of you guys? Just so you guys know, because this is all on my social, so you guys can find me. But where can they find you at, Red?
Everything across the board is Redinfamy. Everything I made sure that years ago, but everything is Redinfamy. Also, make sure you check out Geek Game Tight. That's TYTE.com. But yeah, I stream a lot as well too. So hit me up on a Twitch or YouTube.
How about you, D? Your mic is muted.
High Point Gamer on all platforms.
All right. Simple and sweet. High Point Gamer. I'm putting it all in the chat. And Marcus?
Find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Marcus Esports Howard. And then you can follow my platform, MetaArena, at MetaArenaGG on Twitter.
Oh, got a sub for that. Shabazz subbed. That means he loves y'all. Thank you. Thank you, Shabazz. I know you've been trying to get your knowledge up. You hit me up, told me you're going to be here, and you're here. So look at that. Red, Derek, Marcus, thank you guys. Look, we can't wait to see y'all next week. We got some special guests coming. More game, more gems, more forks, more knives. Eat for life. We'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
Peace.